Hi, I'm Dr. Karyn Kanowski, and today I'm going to help you with some tips and tricks on how to draw a cat. So, full disclosure, I'm not an artist, I'm a vet. So, I'm not going to be giving a masterclass in art, but with my knowledge of anatomy, physiology, and movement, I can help show you how to make your cat drawings look a little bit more realistic, get the proportions right, and hopefully make you a piece of art you'll be proud of. So before we get started, we need to make sure that we've got all the equipment we're going to want to use. So I've just got a basic sketch pad. You can use scrap paper, it doesn't matter, especially when you're starting out, but I've just got a nice little sketch pad that I like to work with. Next important thing, of course, is going to be your pencils. I recommend having a selection of different hardnesses, HB, 2B, 4B, just to make sure you've got ones for sketching, ones for shading. You'll definitely want an eraser. This is going to be fun but we can make mistakes. You will need a ruler, and you might want some coloured pencils. Not necessary. I often just work in lead, but if you want to add a little touch of colour, which we will later on, you can do that. The next thing we've got is these little templates that I've made for you guys. They are available to download, and if you go to the website, you'll see the article with the written instructions and the PDFs that you can download of these. That's helping with our proportions and with our positioning. Using my little template, I'm just going to start sketching my basic sort of bones of our cat. I have sped up the video of me drawing here, otherwise you'll be sitting here watching me draw cats for the next hour. So the thing I'm drawing now is the triangle that represents the shoulder blade, and that's particularly important when we're drawing cats, because you might notice when the cat's moving around, when they're sitting, that shoulder blade does actually have a bit of a prominent position when you're looking at their back line. When they're walking, you'll see that shoulder blade sort of pushing up. So I want to make sure we always have that little shoulder blade positioning, and then of course it helps us with getting the angles right for the limbs. So that's sort of the starting point. Then it's a matter of just sort of lightly sketching our outline. Now you'll notice what I'm doing here. I'm not drawing just a single solid line tracing around the outline of the cat. I'm making short, soft little lines here. It just allows you to get a much sort of softer, more realistic type of shape. It's a lot more forgiving than trying to just do a solid line. So it's a really good technique to use when you are doing sketching like this, because again, if you're trying to draw out a more realistic animal, they don't have straight lines. Everything's a little bit softer. So that's sort of a really hot tip for drawing these types of things. I'm just drawing as well there the legs on the other side of the body. I thought I'd give him a little paw up on that side. Actually, it's a she. We'll find out why later. And just gives us that idea of depth and sort of a 3D appearance, having the other legs there. So that's where we are at the moment. Our poor faceless kitty, but we're going to change that bit now. So taking my template for drawing the facial features, I'm going with the side-on head for this standing kitty. So this is why we need the ruler. You don't have to be precise with your measurements, but basically if I divide the head into quarters, it gives me a good basis for where to place the eyes, where to then place the ears in respect to that, where to place the nose. So again, there's no straight lines in nature, but this is a really great way to make it a lot easier for you to get your positioning right. Because often we don't realise sort of how low down the head that the eyes need to be, and exactly where the nose is in relation to that. So this really helps. You'll need to do a little bit of adjusting, because I started out with a rounder head. I'm I'm then having to bring that jawline up a little bit around that. But again, this is what you can work with. So now we're at this point, we've got a little face, and now it's more about getting the details in. So I'm just getting rid of our sort of guidelines in there. Cyril was helping me there. You can see his paw at the top. It's always good to keep your inspiration close. I'm using now the 2B pencil because it's a lot, it's a lot softer. Now what I'm doing here with our outline is actually quite important when I'm doing a short coated cat. So I've gone around the outside of my cat with tiny little short strokes coming away from the body. And what that has done is it just has created this nice sort of soft outline. So it gives the impression that we've got a fur coat without having long wispy hair. So I've decided to colour this little kitty in a calico pattern. That's why I mentioned earlier that she must be a female, because our calicos, our tortoiseshells are all female cats, with the very, very rare exceptions out there. And then we have our finished product. Now I'm going to quickly just go over our sitting cat position as well, just to give you a bit of an idea of how that comes together. You're using the same basic principles, same with that shoulder blade there. The trickier part on these, and I still struggle with this actually, is getting that back leg positioning right. But that's your sort of your basic starting point there again. Once again, I'm filling in that outline. I'm going to go with a longer coated cat this time, so I'm starting with sort of a much leaner outline. But again, it can be a bit trickier just getting the proportions and angles right, but this is where we're getting there. We're up to that stage where we're doing the face. Front facing face is a little bit trickier. You're going to want to use a lot more lines to get everything looking right, getting everything in position. And as I said, you'll notice that those eyes sit much lower down the face than you might expect. And it just helps get the ear positioning right, which again, they'll come down further along the side than you might be thinking. So use those templates. Now we've got a little bit of a demon looking cat. So obviously if you're doing a smaller cat, the facial features aren't going to be too precise. But if you are wanting to focus a little bit more, have a larger face, this is where you can add in those little details, add a bit of colour. And then it's also where your lines become really important when you're doing something a bit closer up. So I'm not doing colour on this little chap, but I am using my lead pencil in the 2B to create a nice sort of scruffy, fluffy outline. And I'm to be honest, I'm quite happy with just that dark lead giving me the shading. It almost gives a bit of a charcoal effect, to be honest, when you use a soft lead. So I'm now moving on to my 4B pencil. And there's our finished product. Once you've mastered those basics and you become more familiar with your proportions and your positioning, you might want to try adapting the templates to something a little bit more interesting. Now, I felt inspired by my cat Cyril's ability to sleep in almost any position, any location. So I had a go at using my base templates and sort of applied those to one of his favorite sleeping positions. And I'm pretty pleased with the outcome actually for a novice artist. So have a go, make some mistakes. That's what they invented erasers for. But most of all, have fun.